What's so funny?
Your eyes are just, like a little bit like vampire eyes right now.
Yeah. Well, I could say I just got stoned, but I didn't.
Well, it's enough to sleep these days. You don't even have to
Tell
get
me
stoned.
about it, man. God.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Is everybody hooked up? Okay, we're live on 15 platforms. You can watch this at soulgnetwork.com. Welcome everybody on the live and the replay. We're going to play the intro, allow people time to come in. Be right back. I know, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, little Starseed, I'm so upset over them pulling the Laura Eisenhower interview. That was actually a 2-hour mixtape, and they seen YouTube had a problem with it.
Oh.
We're not going to talk about that. We might talk about it later.
Yeah.
So it's been way too long since we had Vera and Agusti on, but they have been traveling all over the country. They've been in more states than most Americans have, and now you're down in Florida.
Yeah.
With friends, and I see you every day. You guys wrote well. If one of you writes something, it's like both of you writing it anyway because you're both experiencing it.
True.
You're both mixing your fluids daily and nightly. You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding.
All of it.
So, yeah, but you wrote this post. Fuck it, man.
Yeah.
I was asleep 23 minutes ago. I woke up at 4:44 in the morning. I did a 2-hour mix and did 2 hours of work. And then I went back to sleep, and I thought I'd get up within at least 30 minutes before the show started, but I was out. So, yeah, you wrote a really, it was a long post yesterday, but it was a very good post. Now, in that post, you stated some things that you have stated since we've known each other.
Yeah.
But you were saying it differently. Like you were saying how, because sometimes I do it when I see other people do it. We say things or write things, and it's almost like we're trying to convince ourselves, right? And we're on the right path, but at the same time, you can see and feel the frequency of shaking in their boots, right? Or shaking in my boots, right? But the one that you wrote yesterday had less of that on there. It was like, come hell or high water, this is the path we've chosen, and we see the value of it. And yeah, the triggers come, and and they go, and so, but we're doing it. You guys have no intention of, well, I shouldn't say that. You guys are on this path. You're committed to the path. You're devoted to the path, and you're not going to back off. That's the way I read a lot of it.
Yeah. It's basically the realization that you don't have a choice at some point. When the lower mind, speaking of the lower mind, is not strong enough anymore to discuss or to resist, all you can do is follow that highest path, because your intuition becomes so strong, and you often go in a direction where everyone is saying like, what the fuck are you doing? Including, yourself, your body is shaking and you're like, why are you doing this? But at the same time, you just know there is no more choice. And that choice was an illusion all along, because we could we could take another round and another loop of the same thing, or you just go. But in the end, there is not really a choice. And as soon as the mind, that is the one thinking it has a choice,
right,
as soon as that is gone and not strong enough anymore, you just go with that flow. And going with the flow sounds always so nice and positive, but sometimes this is just really tough waters that you swim through. And at the same time, you just know, okay, that's it. It happens for me. Yeah. Everything's perfect, even the hardest triggers to go through, and the not knowing. Especially now, we're all in this place of not knowing what's going to be tomorrow, no matter where we are in our journey. Look into the collective. The collective is freaking out right now because nothing is clear anymore how the world's going to look like tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't know if it's for me. It's like, oh, it's the same thing. But okay, so you think, or the mind thinks, or the program tells you that you have two choices.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's a third choice, which is what you described, which is that guidance that's not going to choose either of the two norms. You're not choosing that. You're choosing right in the middle, which is alien to each one of the polarities.
Absolutely. Yeah. It means like not having an opinion anymore, basically, because you're like, every time you pick a side, you're out of the 0 point, and you're like, going into one polarity or into the other. And the moment you are able to stay in that 0 point, like fully embodied and just letting the stuff happen without you picking a side, it all implodes in, like, literally within you. The polarity collapses within you. It's a crazy good feeling, actually, when you sit with the uncomfortableness and just sit with it instead of trying to get away from it or fix it or solve it.
Then you find yourself swimming with the dolphins and not the sharks.
Yeah.
As y'all have been doing.
Yeah, we did. And that wasn't planned either. It just shows up.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the templates and the planning, it just, and like you said before the show, you can't plan anything, like the time, the linear time, maybe that's what it is. Maybe, going from what people say is the third dimension to the fifth dimension, you got to go through the fourth dimension. What's the fourth dimension? Time and space, right?
Yeah.
So time has seemed to be less of a factor as time's gone on. That sounds like an oxymoron. So the next one is space. And that, I've been feeling that, like with dimensional experiences or conscious experiences of another dimensionality.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing too, and I know you talked about this, and that's when you don't take one of the two choices. So you're in this middle path. And I've been telling Morgan for 10 days, it's like I'm reading this book as the day goes on. Like it seems like the first experience is unrelated to the second situation. But when you flip the page and start experiencing the second situation, you can see the symmetry from the last situation. It's like reading a book. I went to, I took a day and a half off. I had physically I had a headache. I was just processing. My body was processing. There wasn't a lot of like, hey, this is what's going on. Although I was getting a bunch of downloads and lucid dreams. But I woke up after a day and a half, and I took a shower, and I went to see a friend. And there were things that led up, in this day and a half that led up to this point. So I sit down and talk to this friend of mine who's been on the show 3 or 4 times. And he starts talking to me. Now, he's a very kind of a galactic, but, very connected. He starts talking to me about how, in general, everything's energy. And he's already working with the energy and programming his consciousness for everything from when he leaves and transitions from this body to everything else, developing planets, developing the technology on his planets, developing, software, IT that works in his. I mean, this is all being done with his imagination. And I'm having this conversation. And it's a very natural conversation. I'm saying, hey, I get it. We started talking about intuition. We started talking about telepathy. We started talking about how it's expanded, from our individual standpoints, having a conversation I've only had with Morgan, and saying how it's becoming a little bit difficult for the human aspect, and we're having to be very patient with it as our higher sensitivities, skills, and abilities come into the fold. So then I come home, I'm having this conversation, a very unique conversation. So Morgan, as soon as I left, Morgan got on a call with a couple of friends, and she said, as soon as you pulled up, they hung up. Like as soon as you left, like in perfect timing. I was gone 2 or 3 hours, right? And then she started telling me about what happened to her the night before. And it was all along the same lines. It was all telling me the same thing, which was, mind blown. It's moving at warp speed. And I can't even make sense of it anymore, other than what you're experiencing and what you explain, which is you get up, you're present, and you go about your business, so to speak.
Yeah, but it's basically like everything we have learned in the linear time-space continuum that was basically developed for us for that experiment to experience duality and conditional ways of doing and being. And it's just that we've always been in the past and in the future. So it was the most normal thing for us to plan, to have objectives, to have, goals that we want to reach, or even psychics who read the future right now. As far I hear from many people that they've lost this ability to read the future because it's impossible when you reach those higher frequencies where everything is just a quantum field of possibilities. There's no way you can read one timeline and stick with it because it's permanently in movement and permanently shifting and permanently, it's a completely different dynamic that we're going in. And so our mind is just completely lost in that and completely confused because we're so used to this linear way of thinking and planning and doing. And all of a sudden it all shifts truly from outside in to inside out. And everything is just happening from the now moment. From that 0 point is where we create in the moment. There's an impulse and then you just do something.
Yeah.
And then you go back to neutral.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've written about that 3-4 years ago already, but I had not had that fully embodied experience of it back then. And that's what changed during the past 9 months when we were traveling and being out in nature and being far away from all the linear space and linear time. That's when it all kind of reconnected for us. And we were just absolutely mind blown how different it feels when you create from moment to moment. And of course, that also already shows us how different the new will be, because it has nothing to do with any of what we have learned, with any of what we've been conditioned with, any of our ideas, how business, politics, education, it's all going to be so different from what we have learned because it's a completely different dynamic. And that's just, for the mind, it's how the mind cannot understand that. and nevertheless we're experiencing it more and more, and we can see the first glimpses of how this will be. But at the same time, what we can also see is that the transitional phase needs to be completed. We need to be able to fully embody this without any conditioning in our physical body, in our emotional field, in our mental projections. That's why we don't have all the new technology you were talking about just a moment ago. It's not available yet, because as long as there's any conditioned ego programming that would have that potential of being used as out of self-interest, out of personal interest, instead of for the benefit of all, it's just not possible that we can access that until we've gone fully through that transformation, and that means with the physical body included. And that's that challenges the patience. that you can't just push it, and you can't make people see something as long as there's filters in place that they that they look at what you're saying.
Yeah, you just got to be direct with them, like you were with me. I said, I just woke up. You said, you look like it. Like, what the fuck? Okay, so I'm gonna bring up a quick point, then I'm gonna go back. Okay, so I was just thinking about this, and you kind of just brought it up, and I was thinking, you don't see people talking about past lives anymore. If you go back to 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, people were saying, hey, I had this past life memory, and and so that kind of, it's gone. And then you started having more references, or people had more experiences with what people might call future life, or I would argue with that, but let's say future life memories. And you just made reference to it, like with these folks that can kind of forecast what's coming, that type of thing. They can't do it anymore. So, and I was thinking about that either today or yesterday, and I was thinking, so the past life thing went away, the future life thing is going away, and it's all being brought down to the present, which is serving us, and it's happening anyway. The resistance is kind of, I think, the topic here, getting rid of the resistance, getting rid of the attachment, being in that neutrality. And then what happens is we're not going through, with the charge of the past, the charge of the future, the charge of linear time, or the charge of pro this or anti that. You're just in this neutral charge. And what's happening, and I know you can speak to this, I'm going to ask you a specific incident. As you have this non-charge, this neutral charge, the 0 point charge, things match you just like they did before. But they're more of a magical, synchronistic, serendipitous, flowing kind of experience. And you were telling us, because we had a private call with you, you were telling us a great example, which is also an example of the reality of a conscious charge, of a conscious neutrality. And that is the incident you had that Agusti was telling us about. Going up the mountain with a bunch of hikers and running into a mama bear with 2 cubs, and the reaction of the people, and then what ended up happening when you went up and when you went down. Could you talk about that? Because I think it's a great example.
Yeah.
Beautiful experience.
We were at a couple of months ago in Grand Teton Park. And we loved, because it was like the only place that we found in the United States that looks like Europe, and that the park, it doesn't look like a Disney. It's really a place that you have to walk. And we get up really early in the morning. We were one of the first couples to start walking. We were in a completely strange pace for us, really calm, slowly. We decided to go to the higher lake before the peak, and really calm, having fun. It was a day, maybe Saturday, something like this, full of people. So maybe it was 1,000 people walking up and down. So it's a path with, I think, it's really, really big uphill. And in the way up, somebody told us that, hey, there is a black bear cap there. And I was looking at the cap, and I wanted to see it better, and I jumped above the rock, and I was like a yard from the cap. And then when I was on the rock, I looked at the right, and was the mama bear there, like 2 yards from me. And I just walked back, completely calm, just walking back to Vera, and I continued walking. Absolutely nothing happened. And I crossed eyes with the mama bear, and absolutely nothing happened. 2 yards from her. Then we went up to the Surprise Lake and another lake, and then when in the way down, it was a couple And here in the United States, it's this panic and control fear that everybody must wear with them a spray for the bears. And
an anti-spray,
like the spray for the rapist. And it was a guy already with a spray in the hand and a lady completely in panic. And that's the bear. And there is a mama bear with two cubs in the middle of the path. And the lady was completely in panic, and he was like shaking with and for me it was like, put, like, like when you do the Jedi, but I did not make anything. It was for me natural to say, put down the spray, because you never use it and you're going to get hurt. And there is a path, it's usually in these mountains, the path is like a Z. It's all the time like a Z.
Zigzag,
Zigzag. So I said, I'm going to just take a shortcut and you can follow me. And suddenly like 25 people decided to follow me through the bushes. That it was really pretty easy until the next curve. And the mama bear was there in the middle, and nobody questioned anything. People just started to following me, and I was self-confident. And then on the people that was going the way up, I said, hey, there is the mama bear there, better to cross through the to the shortcut. And everybody followed it, and it was in flow. But for me, it was like reading in a screenplay. It's like no difference that when you are in the middle of a video game and you just find something new and you act calm knowing that it's a video game and nothing is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, what was truly amazing there was that, like, when we got into the scene where there was, like, obviously a lot of fear frequency going on and everything was really restless in that moment, and we just entered that space of these people and everything calmed down immediately. And everything, like the reality literally shifted. You could feel how it's all like people were just going up in frequency and aligning with our field. And it was the most natural thing. It was really, there was no question about it. Everyone was just trusting what he was saying without knowing him or anything. But his appearance was just so neutral and so, like, yeah, trustworthy that a whole group of 25 people just started following us, like bushwhacking really down. And it was all like, there was not even like 20 yards between the bears and the people. And the bears were just, they did not even pay any attention. They were absolutely calm the moment we arrived. It was amazing, just amazing to literally have that experience of how your outside reality is a projection of your own energy and how it reacts completely differently or plays out completely differently when you are calm inside.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do anything else more than be yourself.
Yeah. So that was
nothing
amazing.
You don't have to do anything else more than be yourself.
Yeah. It's healthier too. You don't become a bear steak, right?
Yeah. Well, they're 90% vegetarian anyway.
I know. So. I know. Yeah. I was going to say, yeah. A friend of ours, she's been on the show last year and the year before. Lillian Howard. So she is a really interesting lady. She's very connected, very humble. But anyway, she years ago, I want to say like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, she met 2 or 3, I think they were Sufis. There was some type of, monkish type of individuals that were living in the mountains in Arkansas. So she went to live with them, and she tells the story. She's hilarious that she walked around naked with a buck knife attached to her hip, and that they would go out there and they lived in, lean-tos, and her son was even living with them, and they would pick berries side by side with the bears. They lived and cohabitated right next to the bears, no problems.
Yeah.
So it's definitely doable. There's no doubt.
Definitely, yeah. With like anything really. I had similar experiences with a spider and with a snake, and those are both of like the animals I used to be most afraid of. Yeah. And it was like a complete peace contract of just a mutual understanding of, hey, we're all from the same source.
We were in Shasta, and we were using the river as a shower and as a daily refreshing, and it was a rattlesnake every day in the path exactly in the path, and you just walk at the side of the rattlesnake and there is no problem.
Yeah.
And it happened again 3 days ago. We went to an island here in Florida to see alligators, and we were walking a path, and in Barcelona there is no alligators. We don't have this kind of stuff, and
not in Europe now.
Not in Europe, and we just were walking through a really, like, I don't know, maybe 10 feet path in the middle of the bushes, and then it says alligators area, and suddenly zoop, I saw one maybe 5 feet from us, no more than 5 feet from us, and I was, oh look, there is an alligator, and we were there with the 2 dogs, and we were 4 people looking at the alligator, and nothing happened. And when we arrived home, we share with the family here. Are you nuts? You know that the alligators can jump and can run really fast. It never came to me that it could happen. Although my worst nightmare when I was a kid was a movie called Alligator in the 80s. And my parents brought me to the cinema when I was like 3 years old, something like this. And I pee my bed, I don't know how many times from that movie. So being there, absolutely calm, not being triggered, it's, wow. But it's the difference for me is not that nothing. So is that the point in awareness when you realize that everything is you, nothing can attack you. Nothing is going to attack you. And if the alligator must attack me and eat me, or somebody has to stab me a knife in the kidney and I should die, it's okay too.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
It's the point of. I love a movie. We recently watched a movie. I think I watched it 3 times. Stranger Than Fiction. Oh my God! It's
really
Will Ferrell. It's a comedy with Dustin Hoffman, and amazing. Oh, yeah. It's so simple because you are just a personage of the screenplay. That obviously it's your life. You are the author of your life. But you are not the author of your life here, trying to write and trying to control and try to achieve things and trying to do.
I think I've seen that. I've seen that.
You are just here to the everyday page of the book, as you said, to play it. You are not writing it. We are not writing it. We are experiencing it.
Yeah.
It's only the experience.
Yeah.
Good point. For me, it's just this experience what matters. The experience of being here and, what is today? Okay, today is visit alligators. Okay, today it's bears. Okay, today it's family, new family, spiritual family where we are right now. Okay, today it's parrot and I hated animals and I was afraid of animals, birds. I had a trauma with birds, and today a parrot came to my shoulder and I had to deal with that. So it's okay, that's today. Okay, nobody died. It's an experience. Source, it's harvesting experience from all of us perfectly. And then there is no more suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a pleasant experience. Pleasant.
Yeah.
There is.
Marita is asking, it's Stranger Than Fiction. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Stranger Than Fiction. So, that's the movie.
What I loved about it most, the main message of this movie is let the plot come to you.
Yeah.
And
because in the spiritual world, and I did that, we want to write our story. We want to change the world, what we don't like in the world. But it's the other way around.
Yeah. It comes to you. And we all go through that phase of where we think we need to shift and change and actively, activate people and make them aware and whatever. But it's exactly the other way around. It comes to you and you feel the impulse when it's really time to do something. And one big gift in this whole experience in the last 9 months of being in nature full time was reconnecting into these cycles, not being distracted with any of the linear schedules or linear ways of doing things, to really feel, wow, often we're just still, we're actually just being. And then when it's really time to do something, you immediately know it's time to do something because you can feel it with your whole body. And this emotional intelligence that comes online, that inner compass, is so strong that you don't doubt it anymore.
Yeah.
But in the old world, we're distracted from it all the time. And we've been so disconnected from nature. A lot of people are so afraid of nature. Yeah, even like touching grass or walking barefoot on grass or touching a tree, which is quite normal for us that have gone through the spiritual awakening. But for a lot of people that live in cities, it's the scariest thing to even just have a bug sitting on their skin, or like have a bird fly by, or it's just incredible how disconnected we've been from that all. So that was a big gift for us to experience.
And then you see like some of the stuff you're referring to, that's we've been experiencing over the last few years in the spiritual community. These are things that people say get a download and they share it, and all the different dynamics of people. And I'm just going to be a little bit more direct, having to be right, having to be recognized as, whatever it is they want to be recognized as, presenting themselves in a manner, that may not be in alignment with what they know about themselves. And this is all stuff we've all gone through. I'm not knocking anybody, but what I'm saying is it's all starting to fall flat.
Yeah.
It's not working. It's like, not only is it, incumbent upon us to flow into this or develop this 0 point field, but it's also happening anyway, right?
Yeah, it is. I totally agree, and especially right now, maybe you can relate to that. Right now, we're busy a lot with injustice, with that feeling of something is unjust or not fair, or like. And that's the polarity again, because when something's unfair, you need to balance it out on the other side to bring it back into balance. But that's that, like, what we're playing the whole time in duality is permanently this balancing outside, and we never go to the center where it's actually still, and where it's automatically in equilibrium. And I had just the recent past triggers were all about injustice. And this feeling, I need to be right. I need to, I'm entitled to whatever. And I just realized, oh my God, that's so much bullshit.
Yeah.
Because it can only be that way if I carry some sort of frequency within me that is manipulative or trying to control the situation.
Yeah.
So I really had to look into that mirror in the deepest sense and realizing, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing. There is no difference. If I feel injustice, I am being unjust. Yeah. And it's been incredible when that collapsed within me. And I was like, oh, I can just go back to the center and I don't have to engage at all in that discussion. I don't need to be right. There's this old saying of you can be right or be happy, but now we're really grasping what that actually means.
Yeah. And that injustice, I mean, you could put a lot of words there. It could be imbalanced or not equal. And I think this is applied, so I think we had certain, I don't want to say preconceived notions, but let's just say an evolving preconceived notion mindset of how this is going to work out. What's this going to look like, and part of that is, okay, for example, this injustice or imbalance or non-equal frequency is affecting things that we hadn't thought about, such as possession.
Yeah.
Like, what do you really own? What is really yours? Like, we're conduits, right? Like you were saying, like we don't have a choice here. It's not decided here. It's decided at that level that many people are following, doing crazy stuff by the world's standards, like you guys, right? I mean, define conventional wisdom. But it's even applying pressure to those who are walking that path because they're having to let go of everything, which means they're having to share everything. Okay. And that's applying pressure that I think was unexpected, and that's actually asking more of us every single day. If you think you climbed the mountain and you think you've gotten to this higher point of sensitivity, of awareness, of philanthropy and benevolence and wisdom and all these things, you wake up tomorrow and you're asked to, oh, well, that little thing that you have over there, that's not yours. That's everybody's. And if you hold it over here and you make requirements for people to access it, then at some point that's going to become a problem. A problem in the sense of, getting into that 0 point field. I mean, this is crazy. It's actually kind of taxing to the human mind, but there is something that's working with us if you stay open and work with it. And I think this is what I've seen a lot going on in the last few weeks, where people are holding on to stuff that we're not going to be allowed to. We're not going to be allowed to take any souvenirs home. You know what I mean?
I remember you saying, it was one of our last private talks before we had a longer break, that you said things are going to happen either by flow or by force. Mm-hmm. And that's basically it, because the energy that is like around us and is supporting us now is not matching with the old program of ownership or possessions or clinging onto anything, because we're returning back to oneness and to how the universe and nature works. And now look into nature. There is not a single creature that has a possession in the larger sense and that claims possessions for good, that makes contracts with other participants in the organism. So the human species was the only one that was going against that for quite a while. And there's no way you can align nature and universal law with the human-made linear constructs and human-made laws. They're like permanently conflicting. And so the whole discussion in the old world about sustainability is absolutely unnecessary, because it will never align in that way. Right. It can only align when we as the human are ready to let go of everything we believe to be true, of everything we believed we had as a possession, and of everything or everyone we believed we needed.
Yeah.
And that's what brings us into that 0 point. But that is just fucking hard to do. And we know it. I mean, we've went through that and we ended up with literally nothing. We chose a very extreme way of doing it. But at the same time, the good thing is once you have nothing anymore, you become everything.
There you go.
And
and you guys kind of had a crash course in social development, which 2020 has been a crash course in social development, meaning how we interact with others, how we speak to others, how they speak to us. And again, the experiences are all over the board. Nobody has the perfect answer. We're working this stuff out. But you guys lived in these conditions for several months with a bunch of different people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were coming and going.
Yeah.
And I know you know what I'm talking about. There had to be a fast track evolution, a PhD level of experience in regard to the new dynamics and the evolving dynamics of social development, social interaction. And I know from your videos and your posts, both of you, that you were very honest about it, and with the highs and the lows, and like so many of us, I think I got it, and then you wake up the next day and it's the rug's pulled out from under your feet.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that like?
Oh, what was that like? I mean, it was really an extreme boot camp for like involving so many triggers. So if it was really like applying that sentence of, if you think you're enlightened, go and spend some time with your family. You can extend that to spend it with a group of people that think that are enlightened, and you wouldn't believe how much is coming up in these connections, in these, like when you live 24/7 with each other. And I know there was this reason that we had, like, that we were a rolling community and did not have land for a long time, or, there was just no distraction from the human dynamic. We had to deal with each other because there was no excuse of, oh, but I have to go and look for, like I have to plant things, or I have to take care of this, or I have to repair that. That's just, there's no excuse. So you just need to deal with it and deal with the triggers. You can't escape. And it's like a permanent, like, forming each other and crashing into each other and rounding each other until you become that grain of sand that fits through the eye of the needle. And I would not want to miss a thing. It was like for everyone, although it sometimes is excruciating, sometimes it's brutal, but then there is also so much love and so much understanding and compassion and so much collective growth in that small group. It was incredible what we learned about the dynamics, and at the same time that was that big aha moment of, until we're not fully able to appreciate and embrace diversity, and the differences of everyone being in that group. It's easy to be with people who just align with you easily and, like, are the same like you and have the same ideas and the same stories. It's absolutely challenging and difficult when you're with people who have a different setup or a different mindset, and embracing all of that. Also people being in different parts of the journey. That was what was really shaping us and triggering us, and we realized, wow, that's the basis for everything. We won't build anything new until we're able to co-live in that harmonic way, and fully owning our experience, not blaming or judging anyone else, but really going back to yourself and realizing, every time I get a trigger, every time I get upset, every time I'm emotional, it's me. I have to look inside. So that was a wonderful experiment, and we learned so much for the new, whatever's coming. And that's the reference point we can offer now, apart from all the other things that came through in the past 3 years about how the new dynamics look like, a new economy, and but actually it doesn't really matter, because what matters is people who are able to embody that new human, being that new human.
So few days ago we visited somebody that was talking to us as a really enlightened, but with a big fight with the father, not able to embrace the other. And it's what Vera said. It's that sentence that if you think you're enlightened, spend a week with your family. Then it's most of the people that we were together, not everybody, came with a really spiritual awareness, with a big level of awareness or knowledge, and a lot of intellect, because intellect, it's always trying to figure out things. And that boot camp was not to figure out anything. Was to feel emotions, to own emotions, and get responsibility for your projections. Nobody is making anything to you. Absolutely nobody. Everything flows, and doesn't matter, including if it's YouTube deleting a video. Nobody does anything to you. Everything is a projection from yourself inside. So what we experience in that incredible diversity, that it was almost like madness asylum sometimes, with really intense volatility, was, for me, the big learning that there is no turnaround. You you and me, say me and nobody else, gonna get one drop of the new technology about the new Earth, about the 5D or whatever it's called, until we completely declutter ourselves of any split inside, because what we see outside of duality, what we see outside as a peak inside, it's a split inside us.
Mm-hmm.
And until we not see the perfection, the beauty, and the responsibility in the 3D and 4D worlds, that was for me, what the fuck? Because as much as we see something in the 3D or the 4D world that it's good or bad, that we take a side. Doesn't matter if it's Trump, Biden, the hackers, the conspiracies. As much as we are not seeing that as a perfect game, perfectly designed, we cannot build anything new. We're going to be here in that old game, just trying to fix. Doesn't matter if it's the climate change or if it's the child trafficking or whatever. And it's perfect, and nobody, because there is no choice, can escape their path here. It's here to experience whatever it has to be. But there is the point of seeing perfection, beauty, and it's difficult to see beauty in a pedophile. The beauty and the responsibility. Because, we are creators. Yeah, I create this amazing dinner for tonight. Okay, what about the pedophiles? Because if you are God, you also create the pedophiles. You also create the hunters. You also create the people of the National Rifle Association. You create absolutely everybody. The dark agenda. You want to play God? First, see the masterpiece of God that is this 3D and 4D world, that it's incredible beauty, perfect. And then maybe you're going to play God in the new. For me, oh my God. And that cannot, it was a revelation by living in people that was completely alike to me. I was forced to be in people that was alike to me. Alike, not like me.
Not like you.
Yeah,
not like me.
Yeah.
Unlike, yeah.
Unlike me. Because it's so easy when we are at, look, it's everything, it's love, it's that. The twin flame kicked me the first. But now it's being with people that it's completely thinking differently than you. Being able to be with that people, that's multidimensionality.
Yeah, like the choice of no choice, the path of no choice. And one of the things I noticed too, and I don't think you might have said it, but I can't recall. So nobody had anywhere to go. That's part of what you're saying. Like there was nowhere to hide. There was you couldn't just go to your house. And so
somebody told us that, how brave you are. No fucking way. We were in a fucking corner. We did not choose. It was not being brave. It was, you are forced to do that. And everybody, it doesn't matter if it's the corona that forced people to stay at home and face the couple or face the kids or face the problems.
Yeah.
The carpet, everything that we have under the carpet, it's not the carpet of the dark agenda, or it's not carpet of the deep state. It's the carpet of what we buried of ourselves. Yeah. That's the carpet that it's every day more stuff going out. That's the only matters.
Well, I noticed what I was going to get at was I noticed that, well, obviously, because you talked about it over the months, that there were emotional blow-ups, you know.
Yeah.
There was what we might call drama or chaos. But that's what I was going to ask you about, because it looked to me like, for the most part, I know it wasn't perfect. I know people did come and go and that type of thing. But it looked like one of the things that you experienced that we haven't been experiencing, not in an honest way, not in an aligned and balanced way, and that is to have drama, have chaos, and actually align and stay in the same field physically and continue on down the road. And that's not to be confused with conflict and drama, and then you sweep it under the rug and everybody acts like it didn't happen. That's different. Right. You guys actually, from what I could tell, had these occurrences, and then you're crying, you're laughing, but you're all sitting by the campfire at the end of the night together again. And I think that for me was really a standout, because first of all, it shows that we can do it. It shows that we can actually do it. It shows that we don't have to, we don't have to run all the time. We don't have to, avoid things. And I think it was energetically a sign of not just our potential, of what's to come.
Yeah. I mean, it's what really helped us was having a common understanding of the new dynamics. And we have something, I mean, we talked about it a long time ago, but it still accompanies us, is the source code, the new source code, which basically came through already almost 2 years ago, 2.5. And it's like a written out in text. It's a written out description of the new source code and the new dynamics, the new structure of human behavior, of how we interact. And it's kind of like a reference point that you can take as a mirror. Every time there is a situation, we can go back to that, because that puts it into a neutral state instead of going into the human dynamic of a conflict and blaming and judging and whatever. So that was our tool that accompanied us, where we would just go back to and say, hey, let's just look into the source code and let's see what that says, and let's have a conversation from that point of view instead of making it personal.
Yeah.
That only can happen from the heart.
It can only happen from the heart, and it really requires a lot of awareness and the willingness to look into the mirror. And we came so far with a group of people that really, really wanted the new, and were absolutely ready and fully accepting, and not only that, but actually being grateful for the triggers.
Yeah.
Because in the end, you realize at some point, wow, this is really happening for me, because every trigger gives me the opportunity to release something and to be lighter.
I remember one day, because you said before the thing about the downloads and the trade with them, or the owning, especially the owning the downloads. One day I was on my knees crying. Why I had all of these downloads? Why I had all of these downloads if I not have to build them now, here in this? I was crying on my knees. Why stupid? And I realized she told me, oh, are you okay if none of them is going to happen? Are you okay if not? Are you okay if nothing of that visions that you had of what is the new earth, it's going to happen like this? Oh my fucking God. Because obviously if I had a download through me, I'm important, and I get energy, and I have something in the room that nobody else have, as Eckhart Tolle says. Oh, I have the download. Oh, I know this thing about the new earth. Oh, I know that other thing. Oh, you don't know that. I know this. And that is like, oh my God, it was all fucking carrots that brought me to be Mr. Nobody.
Speaking of Mr. Nobody, you got to watch that movie, by the way.
I watched the movie 20 times. It's that point that the only matters is your experience.
Yeah.
But to not neither attach to that experience. The experience is done. Because if you're attached to the past. It's, oh my God. So, but I had that vision of that building, that house for us, that it's like this, in amazing minerals and amazing plants of the new future. And if nothing happens, because if not, we are waiting for that download, or we are changing that download, or we are creating technologies and so forth here to build that platforms that we see for that.
Yeah.
There is no souvenirs, as you said.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is, if we look at things from the human perspective, and you guys, I know, can speak to this, because you can't be in the same space with all these people and with nowhere to go, and not be, the mirror has to be like huge, right? And so, and then everybody knows, everybody in the group knows, regardless of how alike or unalike they are. Okay. Everybody knows that it's all about me, right? I can't point my finger at everybody else or anybody else. But to me, you know, one of the big things is taking something personal. Like there is, and I'm not saying I can do it. I'm not saying that I've mastered it. All I'm saying is I don't see how we're going to be allowed to take anything personal, because if you take anything personal, okay, then you've got a charge, you've got a prejudice, you're imbalanced, and you're not, you know, ultimately, if you continue to allow it to be a charge, it's an irresponsible frequency going forward, in the sense of being a conscious co-creator. I just think that if we ask our, you know, I'm getting to the point where one of the easy ways to detect where I'm at is, do I take this personal? Am I taking this personal? And taking something personal doesn't mean it just necessarily a person. It can be an event or a situation or a circumstance. You know what I mean? But I would think that you guys, because I can imagine you being in that situation and somebody says, "Oh, you did this to me," and everyone's going, "No, that's not how it works." I mean, that must have been like crazy, like frustrating and confusing, and you know.
We had the experience in Brazil first. The clear commitment in Brazil that 4 people living during 3 months full time doing that, and doing 2 times sitting on the table per day with coffees, analyzing ourselves and holding the mirror. And that practice, without that practice, we could not do that boot camp road trip, because at least for us, we get really trained on that, and we get really appreciating that if there is no trigger, the rock cannot be rounded. As I think it was Carol who said, the moment that you see the trigger as the chisel that creates you as a beautiful statuette, it's not painful anymore. Because triggers are painful, and then the reaction is, rah, it's the other, it's pointing to the other. But when you see that the trigger is chiseling you until you are being that perfect sculpture, or that it's at the end a grain of sand, then it's not painful. Then it's like, thank you for the trigger. And at the beginning you say thank you for the trigger, thank you for the trigger, because the body reacts until the body doesn't react anymore, because there is nothing else more to trigger. There is no more density inside to trigger.
Yeah. And I think there's probably, and you could speak better to it than I could, there's probably a direct relationship with how somebody accepts a trigger and how long the taking it personal last.
Yeah.
Because that's, like I said, that's one of the things I got from reading your stuff. Obviously there was stuff going on. Obviously it was not the easiest, most comfortable, normal, old paradigmish type of accommodations. But at the same time, it looked like there was a lot of energy mixing, and then it would go away, so to speak. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't perfect, but I mean, you were still cohabitating, you were still interacting. Everybody was at least from a conscious standpoint, from a conversation standpoint, they were abiding by and recognizing the universal law, the way things flow, and not allowing the humans to make an excuse with having 5 or 6 or 8 mirrors standing around you to remind you if you did get off track. That would have had to been a little frustrating.
Well, yeah, of course, frustrating in the moment, but nevertheless, it was absolutely perfect, because what it served was so much bigger than the pain in the moment when you go through these triggers or these situations that seem very painful. And It is really the practice of not taking it personal, but really seeing, oh, this is happening for me. And the other is just, he or she needs to play that part for me so I can go back to my origin, to my essence, to uncondition myself. There is no way I can do that by myself in the embodiment level. Energetically, we can do a lot of work alone because it's just less dense. But we need a counterforce that is just as dense as we are to actively do that service for each other. And I am absolutely sure we're all going to experience that more and more. It doesn't mean that everyone has to travel and live in tents for 9 months to have that experience. But no matter which project, which new co-creation we're going to start, we're going to be facing exactly that.
Yeah.
Because that is what's in the way of the co-creation, is the human, the personal interest. Like you say, take nothing personal, but there is also an ego that says, but I am this artist and I have this. There is not really an I in that sense. And we need to remember that we all just bring one puzzle piece, and we need all the other puzzle pieces, not just a couple of them, but all of them to create that new world. And that's why we're all going to go through a deep, personal, embodied purification process. It's the only way.
Well, hopefully there's people like you guys knocking the energetic doors down, so we won't have to go through as much of a situation. But, what you said is very true. Taking it personal doesn't just mean somebody did something and I took it personal. It also means this is mine and not yours. That's personal. That's taking it personal. And there's no judgment here. There's no condemnation. There's no, we're working our way through this stuff. We're working our way through it. And, I agree with you too, because I think, energetically, in the energetic field, we can do a lot of things, no doubt. But it's in the this part of the field, the density, the physical matter field, and where we really have an opportunity that we've not been conditioned to explore because of separation and because of divisiveness and because of polarity. And that's what, if I look at, what you guys did, the grand experiment, it basically didn't allow you to run, it's, no matter what anybody says or how hard you did it or how easy somebody does it, the fact that you were still with them every day and you still had to cooperate and collaborate and coexist with each other. And that had to be a fast track.
Yeah, it definitely was.
You should have a reunion of everybody. We could sponsor it. We could host it and just have everybody in a circle and tell their stories. And the interesting thing would be, where were they then and where are you now?
Yeah, and I mean, that is something we can easily do online.
Like the Will Smith, like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion.
Yeah, but really, I bet you everybody was. I bet it would be very interesting to see where everybody landed. Without just straight talk. Where did you land? What like you guys are talking about? Like what happened? What happened to me then? Where am I now? Your post yesterday was just saying, it is what it is. I'm here. I'm getting a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Do I know what's going to happen tomorrow? Hell no, I don't.
You have the first volunteer here, Cricket Holden, is saying amazing idea. So probably you can interview Cricket as.
Well, we're going to do it together.
All together.
Right on. Yeah. Right
cool.
On.
Yeah.
So you got Cricket's with you, and there's another lady with you, right?
Well, Cricket is also not with us anymore. She went back to Minnesota for now.
Okay.
And Tara
went back to the sunny weather in Minnesota.
Yeah. So did Tara. But it's really amazing how even this, it's like a breathing organism. It's really this, people come and go, and then the next experience that's necessary for the individual path happens. And that doesn't mean the community doesn't exist anymore. It's really a living, breathing organism. And that's another thing I feel we need to learn about the new community. It really has nothing to do with our idea of what community really is. Because it doesn't mean we all live in one place all the time and then we're bound there and we need to be there and that is where our duty is. It's all going to be very natural, a flowing in, a flowing out. When everyone is reconnected to their natural emotional intelligence and the impulses come through exactly the way they need to come through, everything's going to work so seamless. And when the personal interest is gone, when we don't interfere anymore, and when we don't try to control or try to manipulate a certain outcome or try to prevent or protect from emotional pain or hide away from it, when we just go in all way knowing everything is always perfect and in divine flow, that's when we really start thriving.
I would imagine that if what were there, 20, 25 people different, that came through I would imagine that one of the things that kind of pushed as a catalyst, like for personal expansion or even the group expansion, would be people getting past the point of embarrassment. And what I mean by that is I would, in a small circle like that, in those conditions, whether it's being physically naked or emotionally naked or mental breakdown, or I would imagine everybody at one time or another got to the point where you by the human term, embarrassed yourself to the point where you just finally went, you know what does it matter?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's something to be said. And I say this, in jest, but it's not in jest. I'll say, another way to say I am soul is I'm not afraid to show my ass, which just means getting past the point of embarrassment, like getting past the point of, oh my God, people are going to talk about me, or, that self-consciousness.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that happened in that boot camp. I would imagine everybody would have had to embarrass themselves sometime or another.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually you work through that pretty quickly. Whether it's being naked or it's even like going to the bathroom. You never know if you encounter someone who's like squatting somewhere, there is just nothing left to be embarrassed. And you push through all these shame and guilt patterns, like the not being good enough and the not doing enough.
Yeah.
And that is where we need to be in our vulnerability and also realizing that is our biggest strength we have, and this is the access to our emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
In the 3D and 4D worlds, there is one tool called morality. And United States, after these 21 states that they visit, it's the kingdom of morality, where the people compete for who has better moral, better and more directed from God.
Mm-hmm.
Morality, it's the tool it's the carpet for the emotions. So when you lose all the morals, and you treat everybody as a kid, hey, he's naked there showering at the side of the kitchen while somebody else is cooking and somebody else is eating and nothing happened, nobody died. That's incredible. That's incredible. But morality, it's the most, it's our armor that helped us to be somebody in the 3D and the 4D world. Fuck the morality.
Very strong belief systems.
Yeah. Wow.
About how to behave.
And what's so interesting about it is you think that the majority or the most important part of our revelations and epiphanies, will come from other forums. But to be in that primitive state and where everything is raw beyond raw, and these the givens are not what they are in normal life. The givens being You're going to use the restroom outside. You're going to shower every now and then. You're going to be eating with each other every day. You got nowhere else to go. You know, I mean, that's like you said, I don't know that you have to do it that way, but there's certainly gifts in what you guys went through that I can see, you know, now that we're talking. What about the, how does I understand how the latrines work because you explained them to me, which is probably the only issue I had, but the other concern would be the sacred sexuality. What do you do when you're in a tent and do you just have to be quiet or what?
I can tell you something. In the morning, you receive applause. I remember one night that it was a new couple formed in the group, and obviously you can plant the tent far away from the others, but sometimes you scream by night. So in the morning, when a new couple arrived to the breakfast, we were just
yay!
Applauding. What do you have to do?
We were all celebrating it together.
It's fucking celebrate love. It's like, don't be so loud. It's like, oh my God, maybe it's.
We got to remember. I mean, you know, it was 150 years ago. I mean, most houses had one room. You know, I mean,
no. Nowadays, there is cultures in this world where the families still sleep in one room.
Yeah.
4 or 5 kids, and when the couple needs to make love, they make love, and nothing happened because it's natural.
Yeah.
And it's not 150 days ago, 50 years. 50 or 30 years ago, it was still houses and people living in the mountains, where, at least in Europe, where there was 1 or 2 bedrooms. And in my childhood, I listened to my parents making love. And I'm from Spain, where the morality is really strict. In Germany and in Netherlands, again, you make love with somebody that is a nightstand. One night stand, and in the morning you put them in the breakfast, and you listen perfectly because they are paper walls. And the parents, I remember her mom. One day, it's not a embarrassing thing. Her mom one day in the morning, we were at her house.
That was really funny.
What happened?
Well, we actually was the first time he went to visit my mom with me in Germany. And we were staying in my childhood bedroom, and she's the upper floor. And then in the morning I get up and she says like, "Oh my God, I wish I could have sex like that." So my mom just totally celebrated and was a bit jealous that we had such a good night.
Good God.
So ask me how it works at all without morality. It celebrates love.
Yeah, I mean, sexuality is an interesting one, and the shame patches that lie over it are so big. The morality in the church, and you know, there's so many no-goes on top of it. Like, don't go there, don't share this, because it's our biggest power. I mean, Morgan and you even, you know, you talk about it a lot and you share about it a lot. And the more we access that without any shame or guilt, and we realize, wow, this is our creative force.
Yeah, for sure.
That is the missing link. And when we no longer feel ashamed about it, when we are ripping off these patches that society has put there as a no-go, and we realize, wow, that's actually the door to our true power.
What about
that's when it becomes magical?
What about being in those circumstances? And as a result of the direct effects of the personal expansions, as bumpy and uncomfortable and as unfamiliar as they may have been, what about the effect that it had on individuals' creativity? Because I mean, we often think of creativity as doing a piece of art or something.
Yeah.
I'm talking about just applying creativity to daily life. Did you see any kind of shift in that?
Well, I really have to be honest about that, which goes back to what we talked about earlier, that when you're still in the transition phase and you're busy with releasing, and a new way of creativity doesn't really come through. You get glimpses of it, but you cannot follow through with it, because mainly it's also not the whole thing is just flowing through you effortlessly. You meet the next resistance point, and you need the next trigger to unclog that one too. So that whole experiment did not have much creativity flow until much later, when we were already in Idaho. That's when we co-created the new website.
The web maze.
Yeah, the web maze. And that's when the first time it really had to flow, not only between the two of us, but in the whole group, which was much smaller than we were.
And what about the two of you?
In Idaho? What
about the two of you? Did you see a noticeable evolution or expansion, or further alignment? I mean, a noticeable one in your connection as a result of all this time? Because I'm sure there was times you wanted to kill each other. There had to be. There's no way you could have got out of that. No.
It was not so much between the two of us anymore. I mean, we clashed from time to time.
Yeah.
But it was more like we already had our most intense stance before that, and so it was much more with other people.
Like when you fired him.
Yeah, that was the most extreme time, and that was way before we even came over here. But and yeah, there was still also things going on between us, but not as extreme as we had it before when our relationship started. But it was with other people.
Were you able to in the group. Were you able to confide and connect to each other to deal with the external forces? Because you guys are really more of an internal connection. Even though you're two people. I mean, were you able to do that? Did you have to do that? Were you able to handle it on your own?
I don't see her anymore as separate of me.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you are asking questions, exactly when she's saying something, it's exactly the same word that is coming through me.
Yeah.
And lately, especially in co-creation, now we are creating an artifact that it appeared from nowhere. She had the impulse to do something. We started creating something, and the training that we already made before these 2.5 years make them now that the co-creation it's beyond anything that we can do by ourselves as a unit separations, and at the same time it fulfills you in the moment, it excites you in the moment, it really makes you jump on the bed like woohoo, whoa, and then it disappears. You don't have any more excitement to do it until there is the next impulse and the next impulse, and the creativity is boosting in unseen levels. It's like, oh, I know that she has a resistance on that, and zoop, it comes something, and then she immediately opens. There is no resistance at all, and then she creates art in that empty space that was blocked before, and then same on me, and boom, and right now we are having fun. And we are having fun. We are it's like almost like we are typing on the keyboard on the laptop, and one is the left hand and the other is the right hand. There is no more, and it's because the artist disappear. The artist thing that by me as a legacy for you, they don't pay me. So I'm just doing my part, including what are you? Yeah, and including what we are building right now. I think it's a masterpiece, but doesn't matter if nobody buy it, nobody acquire it. It's only the fun of doing it, without no outcome, no expectation. It's like we're enjoying it. Maybe it's not going to be ever published, ever put online in a. It's in the moment, no control, no planning.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful. I never had this type of creativity before.
Yeah.
No, I've seen it in both your posts, the changes, and probably, maybe because Vera posts more, but I even saw more in Agusti, and maybe because I'm a man, I don't know, but I saw you putting your balls on the table and watched them get whacked off a few times, but you're still here. So no idea where you're going. You're. I mean, I read your post yesterday, but you're just.
Yeah,
you're just
I mean,
chilling.
we're really grateful that we can stay in this place here right now. There is no condition in terms of a time limit or any rules at all. It's really unconditional, which is beautiful. And it's just my feeling that we're all like, that was the post about, actually, did I post today about the being in the cocoon? Or was that the one yesterday? I have such a hard time with time and when something happened. So it really feels like we're all in the middle of this metamorphosis and in the cocoon, and we all kind of wait for that clarity to come in. What's next? Yeah. What I can already feel a lot. I can feel a lot of like joy and beauty and expansion for all of us.
Yeah.
But I don't have any clarity or impulse as to what's next, and I know that's going to come within the next weeks. For all of us.
Morgan's mentioned that our genius is coming on board. So that sounds similar to what you guys are talking about and what you were alluding to.
Absolutely. It's the marriage of the higher mind and the heart. The heart was our main thing the past years to bring the heart intelligence online, the intuition. And now that that's done, the higher mind can come in with genius. Like the marriage of this is the genius.
Yeah.
Like the flow, the feminine and the intelligence, the consciousness, the wisdom being together.
Right on.
And co-creating. And it's going to be just awesome. I know it's going to be awesome. I have no idea how it's going to look like, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm just hanging on for the ride, man.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Like, I don't know, man. It's just, there's a certain, well, like you said at the beginning of the show, there's a decision. We might call it guidance from where we're standing, but there's an aspect of us or something that said, this is what we're doing. And the less we fight it, the more we flow with it. I don't know. There's something about engaging the energy and actually going in, jumping in with both feet, going all in and what happens from the other side. I mean, it's to me, it's like a magical frequency.
Oh, it is.
It's like, it's not a natural by human terms. It's a supernatural kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's subtle, but it is to me getting louder and louder and louder. And there's still some of this, right? But
which is normal.
It's
absolutely normal. I mean, everything is in waves. So
true.
Yeah.
That's
just surfing. We are learning to surf. That's all.
Wow. Right on. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all waiting for me and starting 10 minutes late.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having us. It's been forever.
I know it has. We can't wait.
Almost a year. Yeah.
I don't even know. Don't even ask me.
No. It wasn't Julie. Julie's here online.
Oh yeah. Julie's was the last one.
With all the troop there and Julie and playing.
I remember that.
Yeah. That was in March.
Well, we've had two or three private conversations. I know that.
Yeah.
But we can't wait this long. All right.
We won't.
All right. You guys have fun. Enjoy the sun.
We will.
A lot of people are getting snow, and it's kind of cool over here. But
here in Florida, we're gonna get 27. 40. I think.
40 degrees.
40.
Oh, that's
gonna be.
Yeah, that's about what it gets here.
Yeah. For Florida, that's already cold.
Yeah, Southern Florida, that's cold. That's very, very cold, and it's kind of early to be that cold, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have fun. Thank you so much. I love you both. Love you very much.
See you soon.